Welcome to Thriving on Purpose, the YouTube channel.
Hello, hello, gorgeous people. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Thriving on Purpose, the YouTube channel. I am your host, D. Manuel Cloud. I am a two-time breast cancer survivor, an international speaker, an Amazon bestseller, and a breast cancer recovery strategist, which means I help breast cancer survivors make the rest of their life the best of their life, right? And today we have with us the gorgeous Christina Mathieson-Segura. And I hope I said that right. Did I say
You
it right,
did.
Christina?
You did. Thank you.
She's going to be sharing her journey with us so that ladies coming behind us on this journey can know that not only can life be good after breast cancer, but it can be better than ever before, right? So, Christina, thank you so much for your willingness to share your story with us today. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Well, I appreciate what you're doing because I found that in the very beginning of my journey, I didn't know what was going to happen. And I really searched for women that had gone through and come out on the other side because I just wanted to know I'd be okay.
Yes.
And knowing that I'd be beyond okay and better than before really was, it was magical for me.
Oh, I can't wait to get into it.
hmm
So tell us how your tumor was found.
I found a lump. I found a lump in my left breast, and so it freaked me out because I have a history on my mother's side of the family of breast cancer. And so my mom died when she was 48. It was a very, very different time then. The treatment, everything was very, very different. And it's not like it is now. So I thought that my mom died when she was 48. And I thought once I passed 50, I was good. I passed the evil. And for whatever reason, I was 56 when I was diagnosed, and it just shook me. It immediately shakes everybody, I think. I don't think that anybody's like, "Oh, I have this diagnosis. It'll be fine." I'm pretty sure that not a lot of women experience it that way.
Right, right. I can tell you, Christina, actually, when I got my first diagnosis, I was like, okay, I'm 35 years old, I'm relatively healthy. Like, this should be fine, is
Uh-huh.
what I thought. I really did. I was like, there was fear there, don't get me wrong, but I didn't think I was going to die. I knew it
Right.
wasn't a death sentence for me. But
Right.
I didn't know what to expect on that road ahead, and I think that's where the fear came from.
Yeah. It's the unknown.
It's the
We all
unknown.
just get, and at different times I felt that sometimes I was like, there's nothing that's got me yet, and I'm not going to give this the power to get me either. However, we are all human, and we
Yes,
all have times of fear and doubt and, just getting caught up in it. We all have that. And one of the things that I learned before my diagnosis, which I felt really helped me, was I learned that I had the power to control what I thought, that
yes,
I didn't have to go down that path. I didn't have to be the victim of, oh my goodness, I had this thought. I have the power to wipe that away. And I really, I found that that was very powerful for me. And it was a big game changer in my whole, the year of weirdness, the year of being a science project, the year of all the things that, you can't really control, even though you can control how you think about it. So I chose that path.
I love what you said about being a science experiment because that's what it feels like.
hmm
As a matter of fact, I didn't even finish my reconstructive surgery, Christina, because I was so tired of being poked and prodded and cut on. And I was just like, you know what, I'm done.
Yeah, I mean, so similarly, I really didn't finish mine. There's a little tweak that I can get done and a tattoo and I'm just like, you know what? I am living my best life, and I I don't mind this. Like, I'm good. So
Right.
yeah, I'll go back eventually, but it's not the it's not the be all and end all. It's not what I live for. I feel that, my inside really, the thing that I was the most worried about through the treatment was my head, because I felt that my power lied in my ability to think and control what happens to me and choose. And I feared that when I was going through chemotherapy, because, it makes you foggy. I don't know if you had that experience, many women do. Um, it would make me a little bit foggy. And I thought, please God, like when this is done, give me that back, give me that clarity back. And I value it so much that I used to love a good glass of red wine or a night out with friends. I just don't drink because I will never give up that clarity ever again.
Oh,
It's that important.
I love that.
Doesn't mean that anybody else should. It's just my choice.
Absolutely. Listen, that brain fog in chemo brain is real. And
Hmm.
now being 54, I'm back struggling with the brain fog again, right? So I get what you're saying, because when you do have those clarity moments, it's like, oh God, thank you. I feel like my
Yes.
old self again.
Yes.
So I completely understand and respect your choice. I love that for you. So you said you were 56 at diagnosis.
I was.
You were 56 at diagnosis, and tell us the type of diagnosis, Christina.
You're going to think this is funny, but I don't care. And I'm going to tell you why. I became such a science project, right? So it was like, IDC, I had 3 different spots of breast cancer in my left breast, and it had all kinds of names and stage 2 and some lymph node involvement and all of that.
Mhm.
I choose to leave that in the past. I don't live there anymore. And what I can tell you about my diagnosis now is I am healthy and I am glorious and I am thriving and I am better than I ever was before. And I don't live there anymore.
I love, I love this. I love, I don't live there anymore. I'm living my best life. You are
Hmm.
like the poster child for what it's like to thrive after breast cancer. And I just so appreciate just your words of encouragement and the hope that I know that your story is going to give to other ladies, right? And one of the things that you said that is so important, and I think that I may even title the episode after it, is I learned that I had the power to control my thoughts and I
Hmm.
could choose what I would think. And I believe that that's so very important, not just for breast cancer, but for life in general, right? Know that
Yes,
we hold the power right here on how the life that we're going to create and how we're going to go through this breast cancer journey is the same thing. It all lies right here and what we're going to create from this experience, right?
exactly.
So tell me, what was your treatment plan, Christina?
So once I was diagnosed and after having a million billion tests, so it should be noted that I was scared to death to do the MRI because I was very, very claustrophobic, and it was a challenge, right? I attempted it a few times, and it should also be noted that I was diagnosed during COVID.
Mhm.
So you couldn't really take anybody with you. In retrospect, I think it made me more brave to go it alone because I couldn't lean on my husband, then my fiance. I couldn't lean on one of my friends or one of my kids and just be a weepy mess. Like I just had to suck it up and do this. And while I don't recommend any of this, it worked for me.
Mhm.
So the treatment plan was that I would initially have, um, I'm trying to think of the order of the letters, ACT chemo.
Mhm.
So it was 6 of the AC chemo, which is known as the Red Devil, and 12 of the Taxol.
Mhm.
And so it was a good 6 months. And after I finished that, about 8 weeks later, I was going to have a double mastectomy by choice. So I only had one breast affected, but I just felt that, I'm calling in the warranty on this particular section of my body, and I am not going to live worrying, like, what is it going to come back? Is it going to be on, is it going to be on the right side? So I just thought, what, if we're going to, we're talking to women, I could use a new set of boobs anyway. So I don't want one here and one there, right? So I opted for the double mastectomy. I opted for deep flap reconstruction. One of the perks of that, so it's a big surgery, don't get me wrong, but one of the perks of that is they essentially take the tissue from your lower abdomen, which if you've had a couple of kids, sometimes some of us have a little extra. And I had throughout the course of my adult life been like, I'd be good if I just didn't have this little blob of fat. And so they used that little blob of fat that I was complaining about for all those years, and they made new boobs. And they are wonderful, and they're my flesh, and they're not implants. But during the process of the testing, so I had to have a CT scan, which I freaked out a little bit over, but it wasn't an MRI. You shouldn't freak. It's nothing to be scared of. It's just my crazy. They discovered that I had a cyst on one of my ovaries. Mm-hmm. So my plastic surgeon called and said, we're going to do a hysterectomy while we're there, because you don't need this and it's probably nothing, but why leave the chance open? And I immediately thought, gee whiz, this is a lot of surgery. Like, you're going to do it all at once? And he said, yeah, well, while we have you there, we're going to do it all at once. So my surgery was 12 hours. I had 5 surgeons working on me at the same time. The good parts of it were I went to sleep with breasts and I woke up with new breasts. I went to sleep with a blob of fat and I woke up without it. And I don't ever so because my cancer was hormone based, that I can tell you. I don't have those ovaries or those organs that produce hormones now. So my oncologist, sorry, I sometimes have a problem with the words, it's the chemo brain. My oncologist said, this is amazing news, because women usually fight to have their ovaries removed during or after this process, because that significantly reduces the chance of recurrence. Mm-hmm. And since you're getting it all done, that's amazing. She thought it was the greatest thing ever. And again, I had 4 grown kids at the time. I still do, thank God. And I thought, well, these parts are obsolete. I guess I don't really need them. So that's how I really thought of it. I thought, okay, well, this is going to be Christina 2.0. And when I am done with this whole journey, I'll be the improved version of me. And by God, that's what happened.
Come on, Christina 2.0. We love to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
I love that, Christina, the upgrade. Yes. Mm-hmm. And not just physically, right? Mentally, spiritually, yes, emotionally. Like, you really do. I can only speak for myself, but what I'm hearing in your story is we're the same, in that I came out with this new lease on life, right? Mm-hmm. Like, let's see what God really has in store for me, because all these years I've been playing it small. I've been shrinking. I've been afraid, yes, to really go, yes, after things that I wanted to go after. And now that I have this, for me, third chance, let's really play full out in this lifetime.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
I love it.
And I had experienced something similar to that maybe 20 years before. I was in a marriage and I had a bunch of kids, and it was just, I couldn't stay, right? There was bad stuff happening, couldn't stay. And my ex was not really cooperative in terms of the responsibility for the children. So I immediately took my maternal everything that I had, and I was just like, well, I don't care what anybody thinks. I have to build this business that I had. And I went full on and full out to do it. And I didn't care what anybody else thought. And I just was so determined, because this wasn't for me, it was for my kids. And I believe with my heart and soul that one of my character flaws was that I was raised in a time where you had to sacrifice yourself for your children. And oftentimes in that sacrificing of myself or of oneself or the self of that particular time, women did what they needed to do for their children, but they didn't, they had this underlying desire to be more and do more and have more, but they didn't address it. And they
Right.
thought, what would the other people think? What would this one think? You know, it was a societal thing. And at that point in my life, I had no choice but not to care. And I wasn't a bad person. I was just determined.
Absolutely.
Well, um, and so I had already been privy to this theory. However, we don't always stay in that good place. Sometimes we stay in a good place and then we go back and then we do this and then we do that. We find what we think is comfortable and we adapt to it. And all of a sudden we realize, uh-oh, where did that brave kind of badass woman go? So I've lost her a few times between then and my diagnosis. So this diagnosis to me, so I don't want to say that I fell apart, but I was not in an emotionally good space because of my family history. And one day I woke up and realized I'm not my mom. This isn't 1980. And it liberated me. And it allowed me to implement all of my kind of thought strategies, right? The fact that I could control what I think. And I just kept moving forward. And, my husband said something so powerful to me throughout my treatment that I say to this day to any woman that I meet that's going through something similar. And he said, this is temporary. This is all temporary for you. And when you come out on the other side, as much as I knew it, there were days that were long. There were days going through this that I wanted to be my upbeat self, but I just kind of, like I wasn't there. Yeah. And I would say, okay, it's temporary. Okay, it's temporary. And at some point, maybe an hour after I had what I thought was going to be a minute, right? Maybe an hour into my delving into the doom, I'd sit up and say, well, that's enough of that. Let's go. And I just pulled myself out of it. And for each of us, we have that power. We have the power to change what we're thinking. We don't have to go into the depths of doom. There's nothing good there.
Absolutely. I love you. I absolutely love you. So I'm hearing that. Well, let me ask you this first. What was one of your biggest challenges post breast cancer? Once it was all over and you were like, okay, this is done. Now what? What was one of your biggest challenges?
So it was the opposite of my biggest challenge going into it. So my biggest challenge going into it was I was always a busy person. I was always moving. I was, I'm the standard, what they call type A personality. I love the hustle. I'm moving, I'm shaking, I'm doing things.
Wow,
And when you get this diagnosis, yeah. So I get this diagnosis and all of a sudden I'm doing all of these different things and I'm not feeling myself, but I had to learn to adapt, to learn to rest and to accept that this particular temporary period of time was for me to give my body everything it needed to get rid of whatever was in it that didn't belong. And I did that. And when it was over, I think the hardest thing was saying, it's over now, go. You're afraid to put your foot on the gas. I mean, that was what it was for me. Was I was still living in this place of, it's kind of like I'm half in and half out. I was mentally in, but I was devoting so much of my brain power and my thoughts to saying, it's okay to chill out. It's okay to take care of yourself. I'm going to give my mind a rest. I'm going to give my body a rest. I'm going to do all these things. And when it was done, I was like, okay, is it go time? Am I good? Am I good? And I was almost waiting for somebody else to tell me I was good until one day I was good. And I have a funny story about that. So after I had surgery, I was one of the few people. So I had a big surgery. I was one of the few people that one of my drains got infected. And it doesn't happen to everybody. It's common enough, but it doesn't happen to everybody. So I went back in for a quick surgery and I felt so much better, but I had what's called a wound vac. So it's like a suction mechanism on the drain or on the area that you had surgery. So you have an open wound. And it's nothing to be afraid of. But I had this wound vac that made sure that none of the bad infection stuff, for lack of a better term, was going to live in my body. It would just basically remove all of that.
Pulling it out.
So attached to me were not only drains, but I had this little box that I carried around, which was like the vacuum mechanism or whatever it was. And it was annoying, but it was doing its thing. And so now we're maybe 4 weeks post-op. My husband had gone back to work. I was sitting in my regular chair, kind of just thinking, well, here I sit, am I going to do something today? I was like, you know what? I could go sit in the chair in the nail salon. I'm taking this thing and we're getting our nails done because I'm not sick. And in that instant, I made that choice that I wasn't going to be sick anymore. I wasn't going to be the victim. I didn't need special treatment. And I didn't care if anybody looked at me funny because I had this thing with me. It has nothing to do with my fingers or my toes. So let's just do this. And it was powerful, but it came from my own head. That's what I'm saying. We all have that in us.
I love it. We all have the innate ability to pull ourselves out of the, like you said, the pit, the doom and the gloom, and say, you know what? There's still a lot of life in me. And what am I going to do with it? Am I going to the nail salon? Am I taking myself on a date? Am I going for a walk in nature? Like, what am I going to do besides sit here and pretend that life is already over?
Right.
I love
exactly.
it. So, tell me, one of the things that I've heard you say, Christina, is one of the things that you learned even before breast cancer, which I keep going back to it because I love it, is that you learned that you have the ability to control your thoughts. Tell me, I have a book called Beauty in the Breakdown. And so tell me about the beauty in your breakdown. And what that means is, what lessons did you learn from your breast cancer journey?
I learned so many. And again, while I wouldn't recommend like, oh, do this, check the box, get breast cancer, it certainly wasn't, a joy of my life, but the results of it, of my experience, brought me so much joy and so much power. Number one, realizing that I had so much power. My brain had so much power. I could control so many things. People call it manifesting, other people call it faith. Everybody has, a different name for it. But I already had that control, and I knew that I needed to learn how to really use it. It's almost like, when I was a kid, there were all these stories, and there probably still are. There was these stories of, you get this magical power and you have to fine tune it. That was me. I realized I had this magical power, and it was my job to fine tune it. One of the other things was, because I was raised in a time and in a household where the mom was the sacrifice and you shouldn't do things that are good for you. And I never learned to rest. And if I rested, it was only when I was sick or I had a problem. I didn't ever rest for the good of my mind and my body. And every time I would attempt to rest, I would feel horrifically guilty. And I don't feel that anymore. I give my body and I give my mind, when I just think, you know what, I could probably use a minute. Last night I came home from work and I took a 3-hour nap, and it wasn't my intention, but I don't feel bad. Like, my body needed that. So I learned to listen. Some of the other really important things, other than really realizing that I had this power, was realizing that my health, while so important, is something that I wasn't going to obsess over. I couldn't live in that place of thinking, well, what's going to happen next? I had a conversation with my son yesterday, and he's very, very funny. He's a New York City firefighter. He's very funny. And we talked about how there is this, and it was just like a mom and a kid conversation. But he said, "Mom, did you see these fancy MRI machines that you pay like $3,000 and you go in and they diagnose every problem you're ever going to have?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm not interested." He said, "Yeah, neither am I. I don't want to. I don't want to know that. I want to live today. I want to live tomorrow. I want to make plans. I want to live my life. I want to love my family. I don't want any of that to be overshadowed by, well, what if I die? We're all going to die. We're all going to die at some point." And I also think that during my journey, I really accepted that we're all mortal. And we're all, like whatever our time is on this earth, it's going to have an end. And while I didn't want mine to be now, it wasn't because I didn't feel accomplished. Like I felt accomplished. I did feel that I had some things that were left undone, but I didn't want to leave my kids.
Yeah.
And again, my maternal instinct kicked in and I was like, well, I'm not leaving these kids because they are not cooked. And, I don't live there anymore. I follow up with all my doctor's appointments. I take all of the this and the that I'm supposed to. I follow the prescribed regimen. But if I had to worry every day and let myself live in that space of what if, I could get hit by a bus tomorrow. I'm not living.
Absolutely. I
I'm not
love
living.
it. One of the things that I learned years ago that I found very profound, which is in alignment with what you're speaking to, is we're all living to die. All of us
Mhm.
have expiration dates, right? We
Yeah.
have work that we're meant to do here in this realm. And this is what I believe anyway. We have the work that we're meant to do here in this realm. And I thank God that I feel like I'm doing my work.
Hmm.
And we have the work that we're meant to do in the spirit realm, right? That's where
I
I believe
agree.
my mom resides, and I believe that she's doing her work in the spirit realm. And so, and I thank God because I feel like I have a spirit guide,
I do
right?
too.
So I love what you said about just recognizing that we are all mortals, and that the best thing we can do for ourselves is live for today. I love that. Thank you
Exactly.
for sharing that, Christina. So next thing I want to ask you is, tell me what it means to Christina to thrive and how that shows up in your life.
So thriving to me is all of the things that I always dreamed of. To not think, oh, well, I didn't do that. It's not too late for me. So I just had my 60th birthday and I went and had a boudoir shoot done because I'm going to be like 10 years from now, I'm going to be 70, and that's maybe probably not going to fly, right? It's not going to work well. But I wanted to preserve what I look like because I think that most women tend to, we find whatever our flaw is when we're 18, 25, 32. And then when we look back on those pictures, we're like, oh my God, I was beautiful. What was I thinking? That was so dumb. So I try to embrace that and say, as my father used to say, the camera only takes what it sees, right? So whatever we look like, and that's just how it is. Um, I'm thriving because the the situations in my life and the way that I want to help other people where I believe my gift is, I go for it. Like there's nothing holding me back. Um, I just I'm not afraid to, and I don't want to say that I'm pushy, but in in business particularly, no doesn't mean no. No means I'm not ready for you now.
That's
And
exactly it, Christina.
yeah, and so most of us would retreat and go, "Oh, it's me. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough." We all go there. Anybody that doesn't go there, you cannot tell me that you're human, right? We all have these moments of self-doubt. And then I think to myself, hold on. Maybe he wasn't ready to hear this. Maybe he's having some, maybe he's got something going on. Maybe there's something that I don't know about. I'm going to pull back. I'm going to fine tune my plan, and I'm going to come back and present it again. Like, hey, remember that thing I talked to you about? Did I mention this part? And honest to goodness, it's magic, it's magic. So I'm getting a lot of the things done that maybe at different points during my life or different moments, I thought, well, maybe I'll have to settle for this not working. And I've settled for things. I've accepted things that I couldn't change, but it's more important to me to change the things I can't accept. So I'm out there, I'm doing it. And I find another really powerful thing for me after this is that I have become a magnet to other women who need encouragement. They seek me out. I don't know how it works, but I just feel like we have to elevate each other. We have to help each
Absolutely.
other. And it's become a real passion of mine to let other women know, and the boys too, right? I tell them they're good and they're nice and they're great. But I think that as a woman, I understand how women think, most of us, and I know how important that is. And so I really strive to be that person, because what I may not be able to accomplish in this lifetime, someone that I empower to do their thing, maybe they'll be able to accomplish it in theirs, right? Maybe I am just the conduit.
Yes. You're so wise. I absolutely love talking with you. I do. Like I don't think I've stopped smiling this whole interview. So what are you up to now, Christina? I heard you say that you run a business. Tell us what you're up to now on this side of breast cancer.
So before breast cancer, I had my own business for many years. I was an entertainment producer, and I used to provide crews and stuff for concerts and entertainment events in New York. And then Google came, I kind of got replaced. I got into the solar industry, and there's a point to this. And when I got into the solar industry, I sat in every seat. I learned how the business worked, and I learned that there was a problem. And the problem was that people that leased their solar had a UCC filing or a lien on their property. And I thought, people don't know this. What am I going to do? How am I going to fix this? So I got into real estate, and I've trained over 3,000 realtors how to deal with solar in a transaction. And that was before. And while I had my minutes to kind of simmer, right, to just let my thoughts simmer and think what I was going to plan and what I was going to do after, I realized, and I knew this before, but I was waiting for somebody. I was waiting for that knight in shining armor in the mortgage industry to say, we're going to put solar in a mortgage. We're going to enable this to happen. And nobody wanted to do it. So I got my mortgage license. And now I'm facilitating that people that are buying homes that want to own their solar and reap all of the rewards of the green of the earth and the green of the dollar can include solar in their mortgage. And I'm about to launch it, and I'm really excited because it's almost like, I don't know if you're old enough to remember, but we didn't have wheels on a suitcase back in the day. You had to schlep that thing through the airport. And then they decided, oh, let's put wheels on the suitcase. And now everybody has wheels on the suitcase. My solar in a mortgage is wheels on a suitcase.
I love that analogy. Yes,
Yes.
Christina, fortunately, one of the things that breast cancer taught me is to love every single year. So I no longer say, unfortunately, I'm old enough. Fortunately, I'm old enough to remember when there
Yes.
were no
It is a
wheels on
gift
the
not
suitcase.
bestowed on everyone.
It is a gift not bestowed upon everyone. So I love and appreciate every single year. I never lie about how old I am. I used to be hesitant. Women, you don't ask a woman her age to tell people my age. And I think that it was just learned behavior, right? Because
Yep.
I never looked my age. So it was just learned behavior. And so now I'm like, I'm having my 55th birthday in October, and I'm excited as hell. Like, I can't wait. And I think you just inspired me to do a boudoir shoot.
It's because, you know why? When you're in the middle of all of this breast cancer stuff, if you lose your hair, and you're having surgery and on all the parts that we think make us a woman. You you you're really so hungry for that woman that you looked like before. And I vowed to myself that I would I would have that again and I would celebrate it. So for my 60th birthday, I did that. But I want to tell you something really cool that happened. While I sat in the chemo chair, so I had nothing to do but, whatever it is that I chose to do. So I love music. I happen to love salsa music. And I would always listen to a band called the Williamsburg Salsa Orchestra. Every time I went for chemo, because it was like it was just
Feel good.
I felt it. I felt it, right? And so the world isn't really open right now at the time, and I wasn't really in the shape to go to any concerts or go dancing. But I made a few vows to myself while I was in that cocoon, so to speak. The first vow was that I was going to make a documentary of my journey for the women that would come behind me because I wanted them to know that they would be okay too. And I did that. It lives at you'llbeokaytoo.org.
I love
And
that.
and when that was done, my next step was when all my treatment and all my things and all the things that would cause a physical scar were over. I sat there in that chair and I looked on all kinds of places for I was going to get a tattoo, something beautiful to celebrate who I am and that nobody could ever take my beauty away. So last year for my birthday, I got a fine line tattoo. You see I'm diabetic. I have that strep, but you can't really see it. It's a beautiful tattoo. I get a lot of comments on it. And the last piece of it was I really wanted to go and see the Williamsburg Salsa Orchestra. Here's the challenge. The challenge is I get up at like 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm in the construction industry. We start 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. And by 9 o'clock, I'm cooked. And I believe in giving my body the ability to go to sleep at the same time and wake up at the same time because I want it to run optimally. I'm not usually up past 9 o'clock. That's the truth. Miraculously, as the universe works or as God works, a couple of weeks ago, I was sitting on my phone in Carnegie Hall waiting to go on the tour, New Yorker, and I had never gone to Carnegie Hall and I had never gone on the backstage tour. So as I was waiting on the sitting on those marble steps, I was scrolling on my phone and it said the Williamsburg Salsa Orchestra was going to perform. But wait, it gets better. The Blue Note, a well-known New York City nightclub, I'm getting like goosebumps as I tell you, was launching a brunch series. So today, when I'm finished speaking to you, I'm going to go to the Blue Note Club in Manhattan. I'm going to have brunch. And when the brunch is over, the Williamsburg Salsa Orchestra is playing. And I'm going dancing. So you can't tell me, you cannot tell me who goes to a salsa orchestra event at 1 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon? Who even heard of such a thing? You know why? Because I needed it. I wanted it. I manifested it. I prayed for it. And I'm going.
I love that. I manifested it. That's how I feel about my entire life right now, Christina.
Mm-hmm.
And I want people that I share that not to bring the attention to myself, but to let women know that you have the power to manifest the life that you desire, right? You have the power to manifest every good thing in your life. I do this gratitude journal. I gratitude journal, right? Where each day I journal 3 things that I'm grateful for. And 2 days ago, I remember journaling that it's been a rainy week all week here in Houston. And I journaled, I'm grateful for this rain. I love rainy days. I'm grateful that I don't have to commute in this rain because I've created a life for myself where I no longer have to be in corporate America. And I'm grateful that I get to work from my bed in this reign because that's the life that I've created for myself, right? Whereas before I thought that I would be forever stuck in corporate America, that that's where I would retire because that's all I knew. But after breast cancer, to your point, one of the things that you said is I never, it wasn't like, yay, breast cancer, woohoo, but everything that it left in its wake has been beautiful, right? All
Yes.
of the lessons learned, all of the bravery that it gave me, the gusto that it gave me, right?
Hmm.
So I feel you on that. And I feel like we have so many similar qualities, Christina. It's amazing to me.
And I
So
believe that there are a lot of us out there. I have some friends that they haven't they haven't let go of their trauma, and it's their right. But I believe that for some reason, some of us feel that we need to hold on and acknowledge that trauma and not let it go, because then it won't be as meaningful.
mhm.
And it's like we're not honoring it by not living there. And I just feel that if you can find a way to put it in a beautiful box and wrap it in a bow and put it over here, you can go over here and live your life. And it's okay. Whatever you choose to do is okay. But take that whole chapter of everything you lived through, find the beautiful things that came out of it, and the rest of it just put over here in that beautiful box.
Listen, what's great about that beautiful box, Christina, is that it's always here, right? Nobody's
Hmm.
telling you to throw the box away, but
Nope.
set the box aside. And when you need to pull from the box to pull somebody else up, you can do that, right? But
Yes.
it doesn't have to be where you reside anymore. I love that analogy. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right. So I know that you said you documented your breast cancer journey and that they can follow it at you'llbeok2.org.
So you'llbeok2.org is my website, but you can look on YouTube. So I did about 130 videos during the course of my treatment. And that documentary is kind of a compilation of them, but I have posted all of them on my You'll Be Okay Too YouTube page. So from the beginning, the middle, the end, you know, all of it through the whole journey, my videos live there for anybody that wants to see them.
I love that. So, ladies, if you're looking for inspiration and motivation to know that you can get through this too, please follow, subscribe to Christina's YouTube channel. You'll be okay too.
You'll be okay too.
You'll
TOO.
be okay too. And then also her website is you'llbeok2.org. So, Christina, thank you so much for sharing just all your amazing wisdom with us, for giving hope to breast cancer patients, and I don't like the word patients, but to those on their breast cancer journey. There you go.
Yes.
For those who are on their breast cancer journey, thank you for giving them hope and inspiration to know that not only can life be good after breast cancer, but it can be better than ever before. And that is what this YouTube channel is all about. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And do you have anything you want to share with our viewers before we depart?
I would say that you don't have to limit your thoughts and your dreams because you have a bump in the road. Just kind of move them over for a minute and then grab them back when you're on the other side. So keep dreaming and keep thinking and keep manifesting and keep doing all those things. It's not that this it's not that this happened to you for some horrific reason. It's that this is just part of life, and it's how you choose to deal with it that's going to change the rest of it for you.
I agree. And one of the things that you just shared that I want to point to before we disconnect is breast cancer didn't happen to you. It happened for you. And I
Hmm.
talk about this in my book, Beauty in the Breakdown. These bumps in the road happen for us to elevate us, to plant something inside of us that we're going to need for our next chapter.
Yes.
It's just building you up. That's all. And it can feel like you got kicked in the teeth. But if you can stay the course and control those thoughts, like Christina mentioned, I promise you it gets better on the other side. That's our time here for today. Thank you again to Christina for sharing her journey with us. Thank you for tuning in. If you like what you've heard here, please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, turn on your notifications for more inspirational stories like Christina's. Remember that not only can life be good after breast cancer, but it can be better than ever before. Thank you for tuning in. And remember, we're thriving on purpose. Bye for now.
For more inspirational stories like these, please like, comment, and subscribe. And remember to turn on your notifications. Thank you for rocking with us. And remember, we're thriving on purpose.